Hey there, welcome to the Gyro Step, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast, proudly a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and the Gyro Step Podcast Network. I am Ty Windish, one of your hosts, and I am joined as always by the fascinating Rohan Kadi. Rohan, how's it going?
Doing well. It is a bright Monday, but it is cold.
Yeah.
It's so cold. It threw me off this morning how cold it is. And it's going to be like, it's going to snow. Just Wisconsin season. It's fake spring. It's fake spring.
We should have seen this coming when it was 60. And I started to enjoy, you started to feel happy again, truly happy for the first time in months, seasonal wise. And then it's gone. And that's Wisconsin spring for you. But at least we've got the Bucks.
We do have the Bucks. But before we get into the Bucks, make sure you are subscribed on your podcast platform of choice. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the Substack, gspn.substack.com. If you do all of those or any of those realistically and leave a 5-star rating on your podcast platform of choice, that gives you access to our Discord, which you can find in all of our Twitter bios, mine, Ty's, and at Gyro Step Podcast. There's a form to fill out that you can get access to our Discord, which gives you access to our playback rooms. And we are hosting one of those rooms on Thursday for the game against the Brooklyn Nets on Thursday, March 31st.
31st.
No March.
31st.
Is there a March 31st?
Yep, there is.
Okay, I was right. I just doubted myself. But yeah, we'll be doing one then. But yeah, make sure you do all that. Ty, let's talk some Bucks.
Wait, first, one more thing.
Oh, yeah, we have another thing.
Yeah, we have something. This is a more immediate thing. It requires no effort if you're listening on audio. So we love our YouTube viewers. We very much appreciate you. But there is an exclusive audio-only segment of this podcast. So make sure to go check out the episode on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts on audio. I think Google Podcasts, all those places.
Podbean.
Sure. I don't know if we're on there. But I talked to Jason Eugene Terry, aka Jet. He's the coach now of the Grand Rapids Gold, who played in Oshkosh against the Herd on Sunday. I got to speak with him after the game, talk to him a little bit about his team and his coaching journey, or I should say his post-playing days journey. He was also an assistant GM in the G League and an assistant coach at Arizona. But we also talked some Bucks. He told a great story about Giannis, and we joked about him coming back and playing for the team. His answer to that was pretty fun. So that's audio only. I don't have video for that. I don't just want to throw up a picture on the YouTube. So make sure you're listening on audio and subscribed. And while you're there to listen to me interview Jet for a couple minutes, subscribe, rate, review, and go ahead and get in the Discord, folks. It's so simple.
It's very simple. It's very simple indeed. And you know what else is simple, Ty? Basketball. Basketball is poetry. I tried to segue.
This is a little fumble.
Yeah. See, they can't all be bangers, Ty. No. That's what makes us human. But good luck finding the bangers. So the Bucks have a very important week coming up, Ty. Like I said, on Thursday, they play against the Brooklyn Nets. On Tuesday, they play against the Philadelphia 76ers. And these are both very important games in terms of seeding, in terms of potential playoff matchups, because we're getting down to it. We're very, very close. We're 2.5 weeks out from the start of the playoffs?
Yep.
Almost there. It's time to do some standings watch. So
there's 8 games left for the Bucks to set the stage. So yeah, basically 2 weeks of games left.
Yes. So currently, the Milwaukee Bucks sit in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference and are half a game back of both the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat, and are tied record-wise with the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, that's why Tuesday's game matters. It's for the tiebreak. And they're basically locked in to a top 4 seed at this point. The number 5 seed is the Chicago Bulls, who are 3.5 games back. So that means Milwaukee is essentially guaranteed home court in the first round of the playoffs. So now it's where we sort of get into the nitty gritty here. So if they maintain their current spot at 3, they would be facing off against the 6-seeded Toronto Raptors in the first round. And I know, Ty, you've talked before, you don't want any part of that.
I wouldn't say I don't want any part of that. I think the Raptors do a good job defending Giannis, and they're a better team than they seemed like early. But it's not a terrible first round draw. it might be the second hardest if you look at the teams between 5 and 10, with the first hardest obviously being the Nets. But I wouldn't say I want no part of it. I would certainly prefer Cavs or Bulls though.
Cavs or Bulls. So you basically want Milwaukee to either slide into that 4 seed or realistically get top 2.
Or honestly, the way the Bulls have not looked great when they're not playing Cleveland and the way the Raptors have been pretty good, maybe I want them to just wait it out at 3 and let Toronto catch Chicago.
Yeah, there's only a game separating those two in the standings. So it very much is in play for that to happen.
Yeah, I think honestly, the way it's, and I don't want to ruin your whole thing, but it's very close to ideal standings right now for the Bucks, which means it almost certainly won't hold. But if you flip those two teams, and reminder, the Bucks are 3-0 against Chicago this year. If you flip those two, put Chicago in 4, the Bucks get the Bulls in the first round, and then they get the winner of, when Brooklyn currently being in 9th, means they could not get the Nets in the second round. It means the Nets could only finish 8th if they make the playoffs. So then in the second round, you get the winner of Heat, who have lost 4 straight and look terrible, and either the Cavs or Hornets. Let's really hope Heat, for the sake of Heat fans. I don't know if they could take losing to one of those two teams with home court, but basically you isolate Boston, Philly, Brooklyn, all on the other side of the bracket, and Toronto for whatever that's worth, which feels like a really nice outcome, especially as opposed to last season when you run into the Nets in the second round.
Yeah, it would be the quote-unquote easiest path for the Milwaukee Bucks in that respect. Because like you said, you avoid all of the top-heavy teams and like realistically the top teams in the conference.
Yeah,
on that side of the bracket.
Should... Did you note Robert Williams yet?
I did not. We can talk about that right now.
Yeah.
So it was reported by Woj today that Time Lord himself, Robert Williams the third, right?
I think so. Maybe the second.
He's going to be missing weeks, maybe, potentially. There was no real clear timetable because he has a torn meniscus in his knee, which is going to take him out for a little bit, which is first and foremost very, very unfortunate. Hope he gets better soon so he can go back to being a menace for the Boston Celtics, who have been absolutely surging in the second half of the season and look like, honestly, like a team that could win the whole thing. As of recently, they currently are the number 1 seed in the conference. So that is a huge, huge blow for them. I know we were talking a little before we started recording. Marcus Smart is great, but he is the anchor of that defense. His ability to leap and block shots and just be able to be a help side defender and also be a rim protector, it works really, really well for Boston. So that is a big, big blow for them.
Yeah, it is Robert Williams III. I believe it was reported already that he is going to get surgery, which means weeks at least for Robert Williams on a recovery time. Really, a cog of their vaunted defense and a useful offensive
which has been the
player.
best in the league.
Yep. Number 1 in the NBA. The Celtics have just been a menace, basically up there, I think, with the Suns in terms of winning for pretty much 2022. Early in the year, not great for the Celtics, but as you said, they find themselves on top of the East after that disappointing start. Winners of 6 straight games at the moment anyway. But certainly this takes a lot out of them, and especially you look at going up against the Bucks, now your options for, playing the 5, you're asking a whole lot of Al Horford. And, we saw last time the Bucks played the Celtics in the playoffs, Al Horford can't really be your starting center in a series against Giannis and the Bucks. And that was a much worse Bucks team, and it still did not go well.
And a much better Al Horford.
Yeah, and it still did not go well for the Celtics. So that's absolutely a bummer, just the kind of thing that happens, unfortunately, in the league. It feels like, especially this year, I mean, you look around, there's so many players trying to rush and get healthy in time for the playoffs this year, which I always find a little concerning. But Robert Williams, will be trying to get back in time now, assuming the Celtics can stay afloat for a while here. But it's certainly...
look back to last season. Joel Embiid played on a torn meniscus.
Yeah.
Last postseason.
Yeah. All around you can find examples, I think. I mean, look at Anthony Davis hobbled through his injury and clearly it was not the same. And Chris Paul, I think, couldn't really shoot for like a whole series, which is crazy. But I think this changes a lot about the East. I think Boston had become kind of a sexy pick to get out of the East, or at least to, meet Milwaukee in the conference finals if they were on different sides of the bracket. And now, between them, the way the Heat have looked, the Sixers have not been inspiring. James Harden has looked like old James Harden again after looking great for like a week. Suddenly, we're kind of back in a place where I think a lot of people are leaning one of Bucks' Nets to get out of the East. The Nets are still the odds-on favorite, which I find hilarious.
Are they actually? That's incredible.
Someone was, my guy Henry, Hedging Henry, was looking it up this morning. And despite them being 9th in the conference, they have the best odds to get out of the East.
That is
at least, wherever he looked. But
I mean, we now have Kyrie Irving playing all games. He is playing home games as well. That rule got changed. Go Yankees, I guess.
Yep.
Cave for baseball, which is incredible. So that's not going to be a factor anymore. Kyrie Irving is going to be playing every available game. He's available to play for every single game the rest of the way throughout the postseason. So there's not going to be any more home road advantage, except for Canada, except for the play-in. He still can't play in Canada. So there's that. But that's it.
Sadly, doesn't look like it'll matter anymore, unless the Raptors really fall off here. But I don't think they're going to be a play-in team anymore.
Yeah,
maybe. It's possible. But, for the Nets, they're kind of in a pressure cooker situation here. I mean, I'm sure they won't say as much. But when you're in 9th, we talked about, I got it wrong on the playback. You only need to win one game if you finish 7 or 8 to make the playoffs. If you're in 9th, you cannot lose any games. You need to win 2 and 2 elimination games to then get to playing in the first round against presumably a good team. And we talked about Miami has not looked as good and Boston now loses their center. But still, that is a really tough situation. The Hornets did clinch the tiebreaker over the Nets when they beat them on Sunday, I think. So, and they have the exact same record right now. The Hawks are a game and a half behind Brooklyn. They have a game left against the Nets, so they could make up a game right there. We'll see. You would think a team with KD and Kyrie would be able to win enough to make this not matter, but they haven't all season, which is why they find themselves in 9th now. So, the bracket is going to be crazy, but I think that's why, earlier you mentioned 3 might be the perfect spot, or I mentioned you won't see the Nets in the first round. And I think, honestly, that may be the ultimate thing the thing that really only matters is not getting. 1. Well, unless they get to 8.
No.
They could get to 8.
If you're two.
Or they could get 7 or 8. If they move up past the Hornets. We don't know where they'll actually finish.
If they're 9th
if they 10th, finish 9th, then they can't finish.
They cannot be 7th.
Yeah.
So 2nd or 3rd realistically is avoiding the Nets. And given the Nets are also 2.5 games back of the 7th seed right now, and I guess tied with 8th. So I guess, I don't know.
Yeah,
it'll be tough. It'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, we've said this earlier.
It's still massively up for grabs.
Yeah, exactly. We said this earlier. There's so much room for things to move, and there still is now. But it's going to be wild. But yeah, I think the farther we get, the closer we get to the playoffs, I should say, the less I'm worried about the other teams in the top 4. I think all of them could give the Bucks a hell of a series. I would certainly favor the Bucks against all of them. Probably giving Philly the best chance to beat Milwaukee now post Robert Williams injury. Embiid is still an MVP candidate. He's the only guy. He's by far the best player outside of the Bucks in this top 4. It's him and then Tatum and then someone else.
He's the 3rd best player in the conference.
Yes. Giannis, KD, Embiid.
Which is, renowned company. But
yeah.
He's not better than Giannis or KD. I'm sorry.
I would think about him versus KD.
I would not.
Both ends.
I would not.
I would. KD impacts or Embiid impacts the game on both ends more, which I think really matters.
I don't know. If it's a playoff series, I'm still taking KD.
Yeah, it's fair.
But yeah, it's here's a simple way to answer that. If you're a team, would you rather have KD or would you rather have Joel Embiid for a playoff series?
I mean, you probably just say KD, but if we're talking about playing against the Bucks, that interior presence is a big deal.
Okay, sure.
It is. But yeah, I mean, Boston and Miami don't have the same top end talent. I mean, Tatum is really good. Jimmy Butler, Bam
Tatum
Adebayo,
is very, very, very good.
The Heat certainly have the best player out of those 4 teams. 5 if you want to throw Brooklyn into.
Yeah, Tyler Hero, apparently.
Max Strus.
Caleb Martin. Bam. Sniper Bam Adebayo.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, I mean, avoid Brooklyn in round 1, which if you're 3, you automatically do. 1 and 2, it just really depends on where Brooklyn finishes. But segueing here, smoother. The Bucks can help not see Brooklyn in the first round when they play the Nets on Thursday. So let's talk about the Bucks games this week, what to watch for. It's been my opinion for a while that Milwaukee kind of punted to a certain extent the weekend games. They still beat the Wizards with only Drew playing out of the big 3. They did not beat the Grizzlies with Drew not playing and Giannis and Chris playing.
They got punked.
Not even close. Not even close to beating the Grizzlies. But I kind of thought all along that you kind of kick those 2 games aside, and instead of grinding out to get the 1 seed or whatever, especially with the Nets thing looming, why not rather size up against the other great East teams? Like, that seems more valuable to me. Like, get Brooks some real game experience. And it seems like that's what's happening. The latest Bucks injury report, and this could certainly change, but as of today, as we record on Monday evening, the only people on the injury report is Giannis, who is probable with right knee soreness, and DeAndre Bembry, who's of course out with knee surgery. So it seems like we're going to have all of the starters. Who knows what happens with Giannis, but I would assume he does play if he's probable now. So we get a star-studded matchup with Philly, the first game against the Harden Embiid Sixers, and this is going to be an exciting one to watch.
Yeah, it really will be. Speaking on the injuries again, I wouldn't worry too much. Like Drew Holiday, like you mentioned, not on the injury report again. During the broadcast of the Grizzlies game, Lisa Byington and Stephen Bardo. Yeah, Bardo was on the call for that game.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on Bardo?
I just said, oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's it. That's all I said. I don't need to. I don't.
So on that broadcast, they were talking about how they were making an effort to go back to Milwaukee after the Grizzlies game to go pick up Drew. So I think it was mostly just a rest game for Holiday. But yeah, it's gonna be the first time we really see these 2 teams at full strength. The last time these 2 teams met was pre-All-Star break, where the Bucks collapsed in the second half and just
what a brutal game.
It was an awful game. They really wanted that All-Star break.
Yeah, they did.
And they lost to the Sixers, who only had Joel Embiid. Harden was traded to them, but he was not playing for them yet.
The hammy.
He's been dealing with the hammy for like a year now. That's got to be a problem.
Yeah, it seems like it has been a problem.
The team he went to was the Sixers, who have a notoriously great medical staff. So I hope that works. I genuinely do hope that works out well, though. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I've said before that the Sixers now have the second highest ceiling in the Eastern Conference behind Milwaukee. So it's going to be a battle of 2 titans of the conference between the 2 teams, the 2 best teams, in my opinion, in the conference. Ty, what's the first thing you're watching for in that game?
Really just how the Bucks handle the Harden Embiid pick and roll, which is obviously going to be the go-to weapon for Philadelphia, even though, the Tyrese Maxey Embiid pick and roll might be actually scarier. The Harden Embiid pick and roll is going to be the main weapon for Philly, I think, in all of their series. And Embiid continues to not shoot the 3 well, under 35%. He's still averaging, 22 points, which is certainly down from the Harden that we're used to. But 22 points, just about 10 assists, 7.5 boards, 3.3 turnovers. But yeah, shooting 34.8% from 3 and 47% from 2. It's still a scary playmaker, but I think honestly, this is a game where I don't think they will, but I wonder if you think about changing the starting 5 at all. Because I think Wes is such a good James Harden defender that giving him the most time on Harden makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, we've seen him in recent games do like the arms at his side defense to make sure no calls are drawn.
The Eric Bledsoe.
It works, man. You do it for a reason. I mean, what game was that? Where Like he held someone to it was the Bulls when he was guarding Levine, I think, or DeRozan. One of those guys shot like no free throws or like 2 free throws, which is not the norm this season. And a lot of that is the way Wes can guard without fouling. So I would expect Wes Matthews to have a fairly important role in that game. And then maybe you let Drew play more on Maxey. But I'm sure Drew will start on Harden. I'm sure Grayson will start, at least for now. But yeah, I think that's the most important thing is just seeing how the Bucks handle that two-man game.
Yeah. That's definitely something to be watched for sure, because that is going to be their bread and butter in the playoff series. But I'm just immediately looking to Brook Lopez because
that's a good one too.
First and foremost, I mean, it plays into what you said, but over the years we've seen Brook Lopez be a capable Embiid defender. I'm not going to say stopper. Embiid's one of those guys who's going to get his no matter what.
Unless he's playing the Raptors. That's true. You talk about a team who doesn't want to see the Raptors. That's the Sixers.
Yeah. You want to talk about a team Philly does want to see. It's Andre Drummond.
Yeah, no kidding.
Two opposite ends of the spectrum. Did you see Andre Drummond throwing up the Tyreek Hill peace sign on a fast break? That's when you know you have to fold as a franchise.
Yeah, that's so funny to me. And I can't believe he executed it successfully. It feels like a very Drummond move to throw up the peace sign and then immediately fumble the ball or tomahawk it off back iron. The fact that he did it successfully, that's just sad.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Also hilarious.
It's hilarious. But no, getting back to the point, Brook Lopez over the years has been a capable Embiid container.
Make him sound like
he's a box.
Yeah, you make him sound like what are those things called?
OXO containers.
Yeah. No, what?
What?
I feel like there's a specific word, and I can't, like a brand.
Is it OXO?
No. Well, I think that's a brand, but there's a term. Like the brand became a term. It's so
Tupperware?
Yes. Tupperware. You make Brook sound like Tupperware. Like you just put an Embiid in it and you have it for later.
I think he would appreciate that, honestly.
Yeah,
I think he'd like that.
Brook Lopez, I feel like would appreciate Tupperware.
Yeah, he seems like a cultured individual. I don't know, man. Okay.
Tupperware equals culture.
I don't know, man.
You walk into somebody's house, open their cabinets. Oh, this is fine Tupperware.
Yeah. What is mature? I don't know.
Yeah. Seasoned.
I like that. I like that. Grown.
Yeah, it's a nice way of saying old. You should keep that in mind as I age, and you don't.
I mean, I'll age, but you'll still always be older.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's get back to Brook Lopez.
But Brook Lopez, again, over the years he's been a Tupperware for Embiid, and I want to see if that still holds up after injury. Like Brook Lopez, after coming back from injury, he's looked mostly like Brook Lopez, which is incredible. But we know early on he struggled a little bit with foul trouble. That has sort of mitigated over the last couple of games as he gets more comfortable, gets his timing back. So Embiid is the ultimate test for him, realistically, because Embiid is a player who's he's a team that's not going to try to scheme Brook Lopez off the floor, right? Even though we know now that you can't really scheme Brook Lopez off the floor, he's always going to be there when it matters because he's such a good player for this team. But Embiid lets Brook Lopez play as much as he wants. Because it's not like Embiid's going to be missing a majority of the time and they're going to go super small. Of course not. He's their best player. He's going to be the one there most of the time, like the majority of the minutes, over 40 a game in the playoffs for sure. Book it right now. So Brook's going to have ample opportunity to size up against Joel Embiid. And I want to see how that plays out because we've seen in previous games this season without Brook Lopez, Embiid has just feasted. He's gotten foul calls against guys like Bobby Portis, against guys like even Giannis, he's gotten foul calls on. Brook Lopez, notorious for not fouling. This team just notorious for not fouling. Let's see how Brook Lopez and I guess to a lesser extent Serge Ibaka, if those two match up at any point. Let's see how they play. Let's see how this center depth really, really works.
Yeah, I like that one too, and I think especially the point about fouling is going to be a huge one for the Bucks and for Brook against Embiid, who has certainly become a bit of a foul merchant himself. And being able to guard him without fouling is going to be super important for Lopez and the Bucks.
For sure. It's just going to be the foul game. And we know in a playoff series, the fouls are going to go down a little bit. That's why James Harden has maybe struggled a bit in the postseason.
Also, I think just miles. I just looked up a stat. Yeah, I think this might blow your mind. Do you want to hear it?
Of course. I love getting my mind blown.
How many times do you think James Harden has played 40 or more minutes with the Sixers?
3 times?
Exactly right. 3 times.
Oh, let's go.
Which is kind of a lot of times for a player dealing with hamstring issues who has not looked the most athletic this year.
He played 52 minutes in the playoffs while hobbled on one leg. This man will do anything.
These things aren't always great long-term decisions. Second question, though, the follow-up. How many times have the Bucks' big three combined played more than 40 or more minutes in a game this season?
Once?
Twice.
Twice? I was going to say twice.
Drew twice. Drew has done it twice. Both losses, sadly. But Chris and Giannis have not at all. It's kind of wild. Chris and Giannis have been with the same team all year. It's not Harden. That's a 14-game sample size. I looked this up because Harden is averaging an absurd 37.6 minutes per game. And again, that's like Chris has only played more than 37 and we'll say a half minutes once. Chris logged 38 minutes in a game and then 37 twice, and that's it. Giannis has logged more than 37 and a half minutes 5 times, and then Drew a handful more.
Hey, if we know anything, it's that Doc Rivers. He loves the playoffs. He loves when he has a lead in the playoffs. He's just going to be playing these guys the majority of the time. Definitely not going to go. It's not like a 12-man rotation or anything.
Well, it's funny because it feels like he's swinging the wrong way now. Now it's like, oh, you want shorter rotations? Fine, I'll burn James Harden out in March.
I'll become Nick Nurse.
Oh yeah, I'll show you. You want to see James Harden wilt? We'll do it faster than ever. I don't know. It just seems like not ideal to be running him that hard. And the same thing, I mean, you look at the Nets and how much KD has had to play this season. It's kind of a similar deal. But before we get over there, KD 36.7 minutes per game this year.
What did you say James Harden is averaging minute-wise over his 14-game tenure?
He is averaging 37.6 minutes per game after averaging 37 minutes flat per game in Brooklyn.
So I have his last 7 games pulled up, and he's averaging 38.6.
Yeah, it's gone up.
It keeps going up.
They eased him in. If you look at it, he had like a 28-minute – well, they didn't play much when they got absolutely bopped by the Nets. But outside of that game, he's played at least 34 minutes in every game.
Yeah. So the reason I have these last 7 games pulled up before we moved to the Nets, you want to hear what James Harden's been doing these last 7 games? Because it started off so well, didn't it? It's like, oh, those two are going to go for 40 apiece. He's going to shoot really well on step backs. The step backs back tie.
I remember thinking that, wow, we're really getting this hung up in a honeymoon phase before they even do a playoff series together. And the honeymoon phase wore off like within a week, not even needing a playoff failure.
No. They just played a couple big games, which simulated playoff games. James Harden didn't show up. And kept going from there. So over the last 7 games, James Harden, like I mentioned, 38.6 minutes per game. He's averaged 21.5 points. Solid. It doesn't hurt that 9 of those points are coming on free throws. Because he is shooting 39% from the field, 28.9% from 3 on over 6 attempts a game. He is averaging 3.5 turnovers over that span with 9 assists. Like he's always going to be a good assist guy, and is just absolutely stinging it up. He's averaging 5 made buckets per game, 5.3 tie. That's ridiculous.
It's not good. You look at
39% from the field time.
It's been like, honestly, I think the 3-point shooting's been better. I'm pretty sure in Philly than it has been it was in Brooklyn for Harden. I was gonna say Houston. That's 2 quit on teams ago. Did you see the highlight the other day where he almost tried to dap up Westbrook at the free throw line? No.
It's like, oh, you thought we were in Houston?
I don't know what Harden thinks at any point in time, but yeah, I mean, it's funny that trade was like seen as such a win for kind of both teams, but certainly for the Sixers who got Harden. And
I still think it is a win for them.
Let's see if he puts pen to paper. Remember, he forgot. Oops, whoops, forgot to sign that extension. Sorry.
I didn't get it in time.
Sorry, Daryl. I don't have an agent, so there's no way of knowing. And listen, also hilarious news as we segue to the Nets. Kyrie giving his word he's going to re-sign with a team. You've got to take that as to be gospel.
He's definitely never done that before.
No shot. There is no shot. He has told the fans to their faces, I would love to re-sign if you'll have me, and then not done that. There's no way that's happened before.
I replied to our friend Matt Brooks. His tweet, something about like, he was tweeting about Kyrie saying that. I replied with a screenshot of an ESPN article showing Kyrie saying he's going to re-sign in front of all the Celtics fans. First of all, I got a lot of Nets fans in the replies, which is like,
they get really mad.
Good on you. No, I was like, hey, good
sensitive.
on you. I didn't know you were a thing.
I know. So, I think it's like two guys who have like 10 accounts each, but nonetheless.
Yeah, they just kept saying like, it's a different situation. It's completely different. You don't know what you're talking about, bud. Like, okay. Cool. All right. I'm just saying something that happened, that happened. It's not like Kyrie Irving wanted to play for the Celtics because his dad wanted to play for the Celtics or anything. They had a commercial made about his jersey being in the rafters. It's not like any of that happened at all. And he still didn't sign it.
But he says he's going to. So I don't see what the concern is. And Harden wanted to be there. People forget that when they traded for him, that was his destination all along. He wants to be a Net. He loves these guys. That one didn't age well, but I'm sure Kyrie is, a really normal guy who I think a lot of people emphasize with and a rational decision maker. So I don't see why there would be any concern. But yeah, nonetheless, he's going to probably be here for the game on Thursday. Might not, but probably will be. The Nets, an interesting team. They've lost.
That's a nice way of saying bad.
They've lost 2 of their last 3. They rolled off a couple wins playing. I mean, they hornswoggled the 76ers, who are not good. They put up 150 points on Orlando, which is just like cruel. But then it's like you beat Portland by 5. Portland's not a real basketball team anymore. This version of have you seen, I think it's Monday night's game, so it'll be outdated. But have you seen the players available for Thunder Blazers?
It's ridiculous.
Paku's going to take like 80 shots. It's terrible.
That is the tank game of the season. Oh my goodness.
It's going to be disgusting.
They shut down like 3 players, including Eric Bledsoe today, didn't they?
I think so. Could have been a buck, Eric. Honestly, really glad he's not because they don't get Javon Carter.
That's true.
That worked out really well. But they also beat the Jazz. They lost to Memphis, as one does. They beat Miami, which Miami just can't. Miami lost to the Sixers without Embiid or Harden, which I find hilarious. Like Tyrese Maxey just slicing and dicing. But then they lost to Charlotte in a really important game. Now Charlotte has the tiebreaker and currently slots in above them. Their schedule is super easy, so it seems impossible that they finish outside of the top 8. That is a reverse jinx attempt. But it's Detroit, the Bucks, the Hawks in Atlanta, which is a big game. The Hawks are currently behind them in 10. Then a back-to-back Houston and the Knicks. Then Cleveland, and then the Pacers. So almost all objectively terrible teams for the Nets. But yeah, they still don't really play much defense. It's like KD and Kyrie and not a whole lot else going well. I think Seth Curry is healthy again, which should be big. I think Dragic is playing again. He has not been all that good as a Net.
No. Javon Carter is absolutely the better of those 2 players. And,
Goran shooting 36% from the field, 23.8% from 3 as a Net.
Yikes. Could not be Gyro Step guest Javon Carter.
Javon Carter might be shooting better than those percentages combined from the field. He's not. Actually, is he? No, that would be like 60%. Is he shooting 60% from the field?
That can't be true.
I mean, he doesn't miss. No, his slow start, I think probably his slow start from 2. He's only shooting 54% from the field, 58% from 3 for Javon Carter.
That is ridiculous.
That is beautiful.
Okay, but
yeah, what are your thoughts on the Nets? Yeah.
The Nets aren't good. I'm not scared of them in a potential playoff series. I would like to avoid them at all costs because of the man named Kevin Durant. But that's it. That is the only reason I fear. And even if let me say this, If the Bucks match up against the Nets in a first round series, it'll be max 6 games.
Ooh.
Maximum.
I don't know how. I don't know. Maybe.
I do not think Brooklyn has a chance of beating this team.
I think they have a chance.
I think they have a. Okay, I shouldn't say that. They do have a chance, and it is one of the bigger chances in the first round purely because of KD.
It's the biggest in the first round for sure.
Yes, but I do not think it is a significant chance to beat them. Let's take even the games where Kyrie Irving has played for this Nets team. They are 9-13 with Kyrie Irving.
How many of those with KD though?
I don't know.
Because he played a lot of games without KD or Harden, so it's kind of skewed still. But I mean, it's just like, again, I think for a lesser extent of the same reason.
Let's talk about Charlotte. Like, let's look at the last game they played. They lost to Charlotte at home with KD and Kyrie.
Yeah, they did. I mean, bad shooting night for both guys, and I don't know how much of that you can attest to the Hornets, who have not played any defense all year. It was also the second night of a back-to-back.
They lost to the Grizzlies, which, as one does, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
They beat the Magic by 42 points.
They scored 100. That's just rude, man.
What?
They scored 150 points.
Yeah, that's
Orlando ridiculous. Doesn't deserve that.
They might deserve that.
They're trying, Jennifer.
No, they're not.
They have some fun yet. Franz.
Sure.
Franz. What did Franz put on the Bucks earlier this year? Like 50?
A lot.
It's crazy.
He did not put up 50.
It felt like 50.
It felt like 100.
It did.
But they just like, even these wins, they're beating up on bad teams.
Yeah.
Like Charlotte.
The Heat.
Miami. Exactly. Orlando. Like who else have they beaten with Kyrie Irving playing? They haven't won a lot of these games. They beat the Wizards. They beat the Spurs.
The Bucks.
Yeah, that's true. They beat the Bulls. Like, they beat the Pacers. Like, congratulations.
Yeah. Well, the problem is they're not, but I think you're going to get
to the Kings.
You're going to get a different level of Kevin Durant in the playoffs. And I still think for a lesser reason that they were so dangerous last year, there's still like the offensive upside of KD and Kyrie. You know, could they win 4 games out of 7 against almost anybody in some universe? Probably. Those guys go off for 80 combined points and you have a bad shooting night, you know, things can get a little tight. And Drummond's been pretty good for them. I think it's going to look different in the playoffs. But, you know, in the Bucks-Nets matchup where the Bucks blew it in frustrating fashion, similar to the Sixers game, Drummond was really good in that game. But I think you look at the Nets, like looking at that Charlotte game, and, you know, Charlotte's obviously a pretty small team, although they do play Mason Plumlee at center. And did they have... what's his name they traded for? Yeah, and Trez barely played. That Trez trade's not looking great. And
Trez also isn't that big.
Yeah, he's a center, but I mean he's bigger than like PJ Washington or Miles Bridges or whatever. It was my point. But you know, KD and Kyrie play 40 minutes. Seth Curry plays 30 minutes. Bruce Brown plays 25 minutes. Those 4 all start. KD is big, but Kyrie, Seth, and Bruce Brown are not big. Dragic then is the next, actually more minutes than 2 of the starters. Nearly 30 minutes from the bench. Then Claxton, James Johnson, who continues to play for some
big fan,
it's dangerous guy. But then Patty Mills 12 minutes. So you're looking at between Mills, Dragic, Brown, Curry, Kyrie. That's a ton of minutes. They're just tiny. They just don't have playable big guys. I mean, Drummond actually has been pretty damn good.
He's been really good for them.
But outside of him,
peace signs on fast breaks.
Yeah. Like Claxton, I think is like a good switchable player. I just don't view him as a true big. Like he's not. It's like this is gonna sound like a really bad comp, but it's kind of like
John Henson.
Oh no, I was gonna say it's like the Giannis filling in for Brook thing at center.
They're
not the same player, but it's like that size difference matters. Like he doesn't. Like Giannis is obviously better at everything than Nick Claxton, but it's like what Giannis said himself. I couldn't do the things Brook could do. Like Claxton really can't either, even more so. Like I don't look at him as a center who's going to give you problems down low. He's just like a big guy who can switch and guard the perimeter. It's different. It's kind of Simmons-esque too. It's like these guys who are really good perimeter defenders, but we saw this last year. Claxton's not doing anything about Giannis in the paint. Like if he's already there, it's over. It's cooked. Like Drummond at least is big and stronger than that. And James Johnson is whatever. We don't talk bad on him because we're afraid of him, but.
Great.
He's not doing a whole lot. He's not that big. Awesome. He's not that agile. He's strong, but he's not strong enough.
I'm not saying this.
All right. Well, and LaMarcus didn't play in that game. He's played a lot. Take that for what you will. Blake doesn't play anymore. I don't think they have enough useful size.
Yeah, again, I'm not worried about this team.
Yeah. I'm not worried. I keep getting these annoying tweets. People think I'm deathly afraid of the Nets. I don't know how many times we have to say this. We just play the odds. Will the beat up Cavs ever beat the Bucks in the first round? No, they won't. Jared Allen might not play. Darius Garland's back is messed up. They have more guys out. Dean Wade is now out for the year. That might be good for the Bucks.
Dean Wade. You mean Kevin Love?
No,
it's playback.
Yeah, I was gonna say
get in on the inside jokes.
Yeah, watch playbacks. But the Cavs, no. The Bulls, never. The Raptors. I don't care.
I feel bad. I feel bad for Bulls fans.
I don't.
See, I have a friend who's a Bulls fan, so I feel a little bad.
Remember when they thought they were gonna jump Grayson Allen because fake tough guy Tristan Thompson said they don't take that, and then just got punked?
Yeah, and then Tristan Thompson again he tries to start something with Serge Ibaka. Like, of all guys on the Bucks to start something with, you want to try Serge Ibaka? Not even Grayson. Nah, he can't be bothered to do anything about Grayson. You want to try one guy on the team, or I don't know, but the one guy on the team we've seen actually be in fights. Like, he'll go out there and choke someone on a basketball court. Like, Serge Ibaka's done that.
Yeah, I would not fight him. Do you know the Bulls are 4-10 in their last 14?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, with wins over the Pistons, the Cavs, the Raptors, and the Cavs. Losses to some good teams, the Hawks, the Kings, the Pelicans, a couple of Bucks games in there. They still have yet to beat a team top 3 in either conference. They have, I think, depends how the standings shake out, but they have Heat, Bucks, Celtics left on the schedule still. It's just not good.
Not good.
They're terrible.
Not good.
They can't beat good teams because they're not good. They don't defend. Not really.
They don't fit. It's like that Bulls tweet predicted it all. They won't fit. They won't defend. They won't beat good teams.
Yeah.
I think it was Nikias Duncan who was tweeting, I did not see this tweet having Wolves potential, referring to the Wolves tweet where they said the Wolves are going to be bad this season with a gif of Cat, and then they were awful.
Yeah.
But no, the Bulls are bad. But getting back to the Nets. We did this for the Sixers. What are you watching for in Bucks Nets on Thursday? Which we will be watching again live on Playback.
We will. I guess really just it's less strategic stuff because I think the Nets changed a little. I mean, they obviously changed a lot too, but they're less dynamic now. I guess you could argue they're deeper, whatever that means for a team that's still not very deep. But they didn't add a player who you're like, oh my God, how are the Bucks going to handle this guy, right? Whereas you watch Bucks Sixers, it's like, how can the Bucks handle Harden and Embiid? This game is more we've seen them try to handle KD and Kyrie before. So I think really just seeing how they guard those two is going to be the most interesting. And I would like to see Giannis have a better game against Drummond. Drummond was really good in the last one. I would like to see how they do attacking him down low. Getting him in foul trouble could be big in a potential series. But I think really just, the matchups on KD and Kyrie and what they use. I think that's been a talking point all year is how do you guard KD without PJ Tucker? Bucks have done a really good job so far. Obviously, that's regular season, but we'll see. That'll be interesting to see, Giannis, Wes, Chris, Drew, who all gets shifts on guarding Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what we need to look for going forward because that's the biggest threat, like we mentioned. KD is the threat. No one else on this team scares me in the slightest. So it's just going to be all about how you match up with KD. And you mentioned earlier about the Sixers game. Do we see a potential starting lineup change? I think if there's one game we do, I don't think it's the Sixers. I think it's this Nets game.
Why?
In terms of Wes Matthews, because I don't know, not the Sixers. I don't know. I'm not too worried about it, honestly. If you want to stick Grayson onto Tyrese Maxey or hide him on Danny Green or whatever, and then have Chris Middleton go around and chase Tyrese Maxey, you could do that because we've seen them put Chris on a chase guy in Miami series in the past. So I don't know. There's a guy on the Sixers that you can hide Grayson realistically, and I guess you can do that.
There definitely is on the Nets too, between Seth and Bruce Brown.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, those guys are creators and they'll get involved in actions. They'll put Grayson into actions. Like if you hide Grayson Allen on, let's say, Danny Green or Ty Bull or whoever they're going to start, you don't have to worry about that.
Is Seth that much of a creator? I guess.
I'd say so. Yeah,
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm not that worried about Grayson on Seth, honestly.
I don't know. I'm saying, like, I'm not too worried about it either. I'm saying it's the worst of the two matchups.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, if you want to go funky and put him on Bruce Brown and find somewhere else for Giannis, assuming Brook Lopez starts on Drummond. But is that what are you looking for, though, specifically? Do you actually think that – I don't think they're going to change the starting lineup, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they actually will, but if there was one, I think they would do it for that. I'm just watching for matchups all across the board, but especially KD. Like we know in previous years, they've taken shifts. They're not going to throw in the same looks over and over again. And who knows? It's not like they're going to throw out their playoff defense in a regular season game. So we shall see. I'm just going to be watching for defensive matchups. Like
I wonder
who gets a majority of the shots against KD. Where's Grayson playing? What are the cross matches looking like? That's what I'm interested in.
Is there a shot that we see more vanilla stuff because Bud is trying to keep the hands close to the vest, so to speak, not show all the cards?
Potentially. I think we could see. Yeah, I think we could see that.
I do think I really like having Javon Carter for this matchup because I think a really nice backup Kyrie defender option.
For sure. And you can throw out lineups with Drew and Javon. Yeah,
exactly. And Drew can take a shift on KD. I think we will see if Drew gets a KD assignment, which I think he will. I think we'll see Javon picking up a lot of Kyrie in those minutes. I think that's
or Dragic or Seth, whoever's on.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of guards. So yeah, there's going to be a lot. This is a good Javon Carter.
I want to see Javon Carter defend KD. It's not going to go well, but who knows? Hey, it might. I don't want to just dispel that right away. It might go really well. I think Drew's a better assignment there, but I'm not going to doubt our man Javon Carter.
Can't do it. I always think that KD, like the Bucks, have guarded KD so well this season, and I think they have. He scored 29 and 32 on 10 of 19 shooting and 13 of 25 shooting. But it's funny. But they got blown out in both of those games, and they lost his minutes by a ton. So it's like whatever the Bucks are doing, are basically just like only giving KD hard shots, making him work a little bit, and then just the rest of the team has not been able to do enough. Like
because they're not good.
Yeah, and I think it feels like they double him a little less. I mean, they show bodies, but they're not giving up that many wide open shots.
Well, because when you double, you're just inviting the rest of the defense
or
the rest of the offense to get more involved and create mismatches. If you just throw single coverage at him, you're staying at home on all the other players, and you're just letting KD basically go 1v5.
Yeah, which not even KD can do. Not against the Bucks. Not against a good team, a great team. How do you think they're going to do this week? And we should say they also play the Clippers on Friday, second night of a back-to-back. It's a home game.
The Clippers might have Paul George. That news just dropped as we're recording. Paul George has been upgraded to questionable for Tuesday's game against Utah.
If you have tickets to that game, I hope that Paul George plays and you're excited to see Paul George. Assuming all the Bucks guys go against Brooklyn, which they
probably will.
Which you'd hope they will. But
they take these matchups.
Second night of a back-to-back against a Western Conference team in the play-in. A good team, but a play-in team in the other conference.
Reggie Jackson is no one to be messed with.
Sure. And it's also
playoff Reggie is a different animal.
If the Bucks punt that game, their only remaining back-to-back is the last games of the season against Boston and then Detroit, which I think that Detroit game or that Boston game could certainly be punted as well. But yeah, there is
likely the Detroit game because Detroit's going to be punting it as well.
They haven't not been punting for quite a while. But yeah, we would assume to see. We'll say our predictions are for if the primaries for the Bucks play in both games. I also would say 2-0. I would say 2-0 as well.
This is the time of the season where the Bucks are really rounding into the form. They're going to show off their mettle. They're going to dominate. I think they're going to win both games pretty handily.
Yeah.
Give me some score predictions, Ty.
Oh my God. I'm not doing score predictions.
Why not?
I think because
give me a score prediction.
I'll give you like a range. I don't like doing both numbers. It's too much math. I think they beat Philly by like 8, and I think they beat Brooklyn by like 15. They've had the Nets number this season.
That's
so
fair.
I think the Nets game is less close.
I think this is also an MVP showcase for Giannis.
Yeah, as much as he doesn't care, it would be if they do well. And he does well.
I'm sure a little part of him cares. I'm sure he cares. He's just never going to say it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think they beat the Sixers, by 12, and the Nets by 17.
Oh, yeah, you one-up me on both. Rohan, Bucks optimist.
Oh, yeah. Don't come at us and say we hate this team, man.
They will.
They always do.
But I'm just glad it's a fun week of games. You know, obviously more fun if they win. But we've got good basketball on tap, and I think probably is this going to be the last fun 2-game stretch of the regular season? I mean, there's only 5 games after that. Wait, am I missing a game? Am I missing a game on my schedule?
I don't think so.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There can't be 7 games with how many they're played, can they?
I mean, what have they played? They've played 74 games.
Yeah, there has to be another game. What am I missing? Bucks.com, what are you doing to me?
So here, let me pull it up.
I think they end with Cleveland, I thought.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know why that's not showing up on this schedule. Did that game get canceled? I know it didn't. I know it didn't get canceled.
No, it might have been because it's currently scheduled as 3 games in a row.
Oh, I don't think they've assigned days yet. I think they wait to like do premium matchups for the there's no times yet.
Yeah, there's no time, but it's currently scheduled for Saturday, April 9th.
It won't be that because they play Thursday.
Because that'll be 3 games in a row.
That's super weird. They haven't like set that one now. Set that to a non-premier time and channel. No one's going to care about that game. Maybe the NBA thinks somebody will. I guarantee you the Bucks will not care that much about that game.
I think they're just waiting to see how the rest of it plays out.
Yeah, they probably
schedule other games.
But no, after this, it's Clippers. Mavs could be fun. Mavs Bulls, I guess, would be the closest. But then Celtics, Pistons, Cavs. So this is it until playoffs. This is the real tune-up games. I mean, again, Mavs, Bulls, probably not. Celtics, I guess, would still be a good one. But 2 of the best games on the schedule, 2 fun ones to watch. And like we mentioned, you can watch the Brooklyn game with us. You can kind of watch Philly with us. I mean, we'll be tweeting. We'll be in the Discord. We'll be posting. So excited to take in these games. We'll have to share our thoughts sometime after the Nets game. But maybe after the Clippers game as well, just to
tentatively this weekend.
Yeah. But any last thoughts on this 2-game stretch? Enjoy it.
This is a playoff preview. Like, this is where you get into the mindset of playoff basketball because it's coming. It is coming. Gyro Step Podcast Network is going to have you covered throughout the entirety of the postseason. But we are not finished with this podcast yet, Ty.
No.
Like we teased up top. There is your conversation with the Jet himself, Jason Terry. Here it is.
It was super fun talking to Jet, is all I'll say. It was a blast. So again, if you're a video watcher saying where the hell was it? It's on the audio feed. You don't have video of it, so go check out the Gyro Step on audio. Listen through. Check out that interview with Jason Terry and his cool Giannis story. But now, officially, Rohan, that's all we've got for this episode.
Yeah, that's all we've got. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you subscribe on your podcast platform. Just leave a review on your whatever. Apple is inbuilt. You can leave a 5-star rating and review. Spotify or other platforms, you can leave a rating. And we invented a review system where you can just send your review to eurosteppod@gmail.com or fill out that form that we mentioned up top. That's in my Twitter bio, which is in Ty's Twitter bio, which is in the Gyro Step Podcast Twitter bio. But make sure you leave that 5-star rating. Hopefully you can join us for the playback. Make sure you subscribe to the Substack, gspn.substack.com. Subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to everything. And go Bucks, pod random. And we'll talk to you next time.